I grew up getting my face ground into the dirt by the girl next door. Our families had been feuding for 3 generations. By the time I turned 20, my dad raised his beer at my birthday dinner and said, "Son, what if you just marry her?" The whole table went dead silent. My mom cleared her throat. If you can't beat her, join her. They both stared at me, eyes shining with a kind of insane hope. I gritted my teeth, grabbed my ID, and that same night climbed over the fence in her yard. Hashtag Chapter 1. The Parkers and the Lewis family had been legendary enemies on our street for as long as anyone could remember. No one was sure how it started. According to my grandpa, his grandpa's grandpa once tripped Old Man Lewis's grandpa at the end of the dirt road so he could snatch the last cornbread roll at the general store. That's it. That was the big bang of our epic feud. Generations later, the glorious burden had landed on me and Emma Lewis. Emma Lewis, my lifelong nemesis. The girl who could pin me to the ground and make me sing "Since You've Been Gone" at the top of my lungs before I was old enough to spell humiliation. Preschool, she stole my gold stars. Elementary school, she snapped my Pokemon cards in half. Middle school, she cornered me in the alley and stole the popsicle I'd just bought, saying, "It's hot. I'm doing you a favor. You'll get heat stroke." My entire life was a 24/7 high-definition highlight reel of her kicking my ass from every angle. On my 20th birthday, my dad, David Parker, had put away a few beers. His cheeks were red, his voice loud, his breath pure hops and regret. "So, you're 20 now. You're a man." He thumped his chest. The men of the Parker family can be broke, can be ugly, but they can't be cowards. I stirred the mashed potatoes on my plate and thought, "Dad, you're a triple threat, broke, ugly, and I still remember you on your knees on the hardwood last year when Mom found your secret stash of cash. People 3 houses down heard you begging for mercy." My mom shot him a look, and he immediately shrank a few inches in his chair. "Anyway," he cleared his throat, "it's time to settle things between you and that Lewis girl once and for all." I straightened up. Here we go. I knew it. This was the part where he passed down the secret Parker family technique, so I could finally take my revenge and rise up. I set my fork down and looked at him, eyes blazing. "Dad, tell me, how do we end it?" It's time she learned life as plot twists. Tables turn. Tides change. He took a deep breath like he was about to unveil a master plan. He raised one finger, eyes dark, voice solemn. "Son, what if you just marry her?" I sprayed mashed potato thick gravy all over his face. The world went silent. The air was thick with awkwardness and chicken gravy. My grandpa dropped his glass. My grandma's dentures almost shot straight out of her mouth. I stared at my dad, wondering if the beer had broken his brain. "Dad, come again." He wiped his face with a napkin and said, completely serious, "Think about it. You marry her, she becomes one of us. Once she's a Parker, who runs the show? Your mother does. That, son, is called using the enemy's strengths against them." Mom's eyes lit up. She slapped her thigh. "That's actually not bad." She turned to me, coaxing. "So, listen. You know the saying, if you can't beat him, join him." It's strategic repositioning. Not shameful at all. My whole brain short-circuited. I treat you two like actual parents, and you volunteer me as a human sacrifice? You're betting my entire future happiness like it's poker night? No, absolutely not. I shook my head hard. I'd rather die. I, Alex Parker, would jump off this roof and die in a ditch before I ever marry that she-devil Emma Lewis. My dad clutched his chest like I'd stabbed him. "You ungrateful punk. Can't you see we're doing this for the good of the Parker legacy?" Mom chimed in, voice heavy with wisdom. "Yeah, honey, where does revenge end? Somebody has to be the hero who brings peace to both families. That somebody is you." Watching them go back and forth, my thoughts tangled into a knot. Marry Emma Lewis? The girl who could literally pick me up one-handed by the collar? The girl who could throw me over her shoulder if she got annoyed? I didn't dare imagine our married life. Domestic abuse would be a daily routine. Me, honey dinners. Wham. Suplex. "Who are you calling honey?" "It's Emma." Or ma'am. Me, Emma dinner. Wham. Another suplex. "Dinner? You don't see me in the middle of a game? Make your own damn food." Just the thought sent a chill up my spine. After dinner, my parents pinned me to the couch for a 2-hour TED Talk on sacrifice and family values. The core message boiled down to, suffer alone so 2 families can be happy. Somewhere along the way, I started to waver. No, that's not it. I got hypnotized by the bright future they kept dangling in front of me. Dad said, think about it. You marry her, her money is your money. The Lewis family business? You get a piece. Mom said, think about it. You marry her, who's ever going to mess with you again? Just drop your wife's name. In my mind's eye, a golden road unfurled to the horizon. A life of living off my wife. No, a life of strategic alliance and mutual peak success. And then Dad went for the kill. Son, really think about it. Don't you want to see her in an apron cooking for you, calling me Dad? Don't you want your whole life turned upside down, for once in your favor? Yes. God, yes. I wanted that image burned into my retinas. A hot rush of adrenaline shot straight to my brain. Screw it. We're talking about getting married, not storming Normandy. What was I afraid of? I jumped to my feet. Dad, Mom, I get it now. For the honor of the Parker name, I'll do it. They both teared up like they just watched me raise the flag on Iwo Jima. I went upstairs, grabbed my ID from my drawer, and stuffed it into my pocket. Then, under my family's shocked stares, I lifted my bedroom window, climbed out onto the roof, and jumped toward the Lewis property line. Tonight, I was going to propose, while I was still drunk on courage. Hashtag chapter 2. It was a dark, quiet night, perfect for breaking into your enemy's yard to propose. At 20 years old, this was easily the craziest move of my entire life, fueled by cheap beer and my parents' emotional blackmail. The fence between our houses wasn't that tall, maybe 7 feet. I climbed it plenty of times as a kid, trying to escape Emma's wrath. I was basically a professional by now. I jogged, planted my foot, grabbed the top, swung my hips, and slipped over like a lizard. Flawless landing. No sound. I brushed my hands off, feeling smug. The Lewis house was lit up. They had people over. Perfect. If I proposed in front of guests, she'd be too embarrassed to turn me down. Genius move, Alex. Genius. Crouching low, I used the shrubs as cover and crept toward the big living room window. I was just about to peek inside when I heard a guy's voice, cocky and smug. Mr. and Mrs. Lewis, don't worry. Once Emma and I are married, I'll take good care of her. That new mall on the east side? I just bought it. I'll put it in her name as a wedding gift. My stomach dropped. You have got to be kidding me. Someone was cutting in line? I grabbed the window ledge and eased my head up. In the living room, Emma's parents sat on the couch, smiling way too hard, entertaining a slick-looking guy in a suit with a watch bright enough to blind me. Emma sat in a single armchair, expression flat, eyes so cold she could have frozen a lake. An arranged marriage ambush. My mission just got an upgrade. This wasn't just about the Parker name anymore. I was here to rescue a damsel in distress. Alex Parker, would be her last-minute knight in shining armor. The slick guy kept bragging. The Carter family has businesses all over the country. If Emma marries me, she'll never have to worry about anything again. She'll be the most envied woman in this city. Emma's dad, Robert Lewis, was grinning like this was the jackpot. Logan, you're so accomplished at your age. Emma would be lucky to marry you. Emma finally snapped. My luck, she said coldly, would be marrying someone who has something besides money and hair gel. Logan's face froze. The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. I silently cheered. That's my girl. Queen behavior. Robert's smile vanished. Emma, watch your mouth. Apologized to Logan. I'm just telling the truth. Emma stood. It's my life, my marriage. I make the decisions. Not you. That's enough. Robert slapped the coffee table. This wedding is happening whether you like it or not. Right as things were about to explode, I knew my moment had come. Heroes show up at the exact worst-best time. I straightened my shirt, took a deep breath, and prepared to stride in like a movie star. I forgot one small detail. The groundskeeper had just watered the flower beds. My foot hit slippery mud. My legs shot out. I went down like a cartoon character on a banana peel. Ho-ho, crash. I slammed face first into a rose bush. As I flailed, trying to save myself, I accidentally grabbed the garden hose. On the other end of that hose, a trigger to the automatic sprinkler system. A powerful jet of water exploded from a nozzle behind me, arcing through the air in a beautiful, terrible curve, and smash, blew straight through the living room window. Shattered glass and water went everywhere. Everyone inside was instantly soaked. Four heads snapped toward the wreckage. Me, face planted in thorns, mud all over my clothes, a rose petal stuck to my cheek, and about 100 tiny scratches in my arms. The room went very, very quiet. Robert's face went so dark it was almost blue. "Who the hell are you?" Logan pointed at me with a shriek. "There's a burglar. Call the cops." I forced myself to stand, dripping, covered in leaves, trying to salvage the last molecules of my dignity. "Sir, ma'am, please don't misunderstand. I'm not a burglar." I square my shoulders and try to look noble. "I'm here to propose." Hashtag chapter 3. The word propose hung in the air like a live grenade. Robert and his wife, plus Logan with the expensive watch, stared at me like I'd crawled out of a psychiatric ward. Robert's eye twitched. "Propose? You? To who?" I took a deep breath, ignoring the sting of cuts and the cold water dripping down my back. I turned to the only person in the room who didn't look completely insane. Emma Lewis. "I, Alex Parker, on behalf of the Parker family, formally propose to you, Emma Lewis." I pulled my ID card out of my pocket like it was a battle flag. "I brought my ID. All we need is your yes, and we'll drive straight to the courthouse." Silence. Dead silence. Then Logan broke, laughing so hard he nearly dropped his watch. "Oh my God, are you serious?" He pointed at me, wheezing. "Mr. Lewis, did you guys hire this clown? Alex Parker? That piece of trash from next door?" He looked me up and down in disgust. "Kid, take a long look in a mirror. You think you deserve her? Do you know who I am? Do you know what I'm offering? An entire mall in her name. And you've got what? A driver's license. Insult. Pure un filter d'insult. I could be beaten. I refuse to be disrespected." I opened my mouth to fire back, but Emma moved first. She walked toward me, long legs slicing through the puddles on the floor. Moonlight poured through the shattered window behind her, casting her shadow over me. Every fight or flight instinct I had screamed run. My muscles tensed, ready for a throw. Part of my brain braced to get hurled back out the window. Instead, she just looked at me. Her eyes were complicated. No anger, no smile, just something deep I couldn't read. "Alex," she said quietly. "Are you serious?" Of course I am." My voice cracked, but I held my ground. "More serious than gold, baby." Her lips twitched. "Okay." My brain stalled. "Okay. Okay as in okay, get lost now." Before I could figure it out, she turned to face her stunned parents and a now purple-faced Logan. "Dad. Mom. Logan. You heard him." She snatched my ID from my hand and lifted it up. "I've decided. I'm marrying him." Boom. My brain detonated. So did everyone else's. Robert clutched his chest, eyes bulging. He nearly toppled over. Mrs. Lewis grabbed his arm, pointing at Emma, speechless with rage. "You, have you lost your mind?" Logan's face cycled through several shades, navy, purple, then raw liver. "Emma, you can't do this to me. This loser can't compare to me." Emma's smile was razor thin. "He beats you in every way that matters. At least he has the guts to climb over a fence for me, not just sit here kissing my parents' ass." She didn't look at anyone else. She grabbed my wrist and yanked. "Let's go." Courthouse. Her grip was iron, but her palm was warm. Stumbling along behind her, I wondered if I was awake. This worked? Happiness hit me like a bat to the head. I didn't fully snap back to reality until I was shoved into the passenger seat of a red Porsche. The engine roared and we shot down the street. I stole a glance at her perfect profile, lit by passing streetlights. Emma," I said, voice small. "If you're being held against your will, blink twice, okay?" She glanced sideways at me, and the corner of her mouth quirked. "Shut up. From now on, it's honey." My heart missed a beat. Hashtag chapter 4. 20 minutes later, we stood in front of the county courthouse. I stared up at the gold letters over the door and seriously considered slapping myself. This had to be a dream. I pinched my thigh. Hard. Shit, that hurt. Not a dream. Emma didn't hesitate. She parked, dragged me inside by the wrist like a debt collector, and marched up to the clerk's window. The woman behind the glass had a silver bob and the expression of someone who'd seen every weird marriage in the county. Still, she blinked at the sight of us. Me soaked and scratched up, her tall, gorgeous, radiating frost. "And you two are getting married," Emma said. The clerk pushed her glasses up and looked us over again, then focused squarely on me. "Honey, if you're being forced into this, you blink for me and I'll call the cops." I waved my hands. No, we're good. Totally voluntary. Deeply in love. I was lying so hard my soul hurt, and I snuck a glance at Emma. Her face gave nothing away. For the marriage license photo, the photographer tried his best. Come on, big smiles. You're getting married, not filing for divorce. I forced my mouth up into something that probably looked like a pain grimace. Emma's face stayed completely flat. She looked like she was about to sign a hostile takeover, not a marriage license. In the end, the poor guy gave up and just slapped a congratulations background on it in Photoshop. When they handed us our freshly printed marriage certificate, my hands shook. Just like that, I was married to the girl who'd spent my entire childhood kicking my ass. My life had officially turned into a sitcom. Let's go, babe, Emma said, tucking her copy into her purse. Be babe, I stammered. Saying that word to her felt like trying to swallow a cactus. She seemed satisfied, nodded, and walked us out. Once we were back in the car, an alarming thought hit me. So where are we living? Your place or mine? I asked, praying it would not be mine. Our house was small and cramped, and not at all suitable for someone who could casually bench press me. I've got a condo downtown, she said, starting the car. Vacant. We'll go there. I exhaled, relieved. As we pulled out of the parking lot, both our phones started vibrating like crazy. I didn't even have to look to know. Our parents. World War III, officially underway. I answered my dad's call with trembling fingers. You little shit. I yanked the phone away from my ear. Who told you to actually do it? I was drunk, just screwing around. You seriously grabbed your ID and ran over there? So this joker had been bluffing, and I'd taken it as gospel. I don't care where you are. You get your ass home right now. Dad, it's kind of late for that. Late how? We already got the license. Silence. 10 long seconds. Then his voice came back, but this time he actually sounded proud. Attaboy. That's my son. Bold move. That's how you do it. Hit him fast so the Lewis family can't say jack. The speed at which this man could change his tune was terrifying. Before I could say anything, he lowered his voice. Hey, send me a picture of that marriage certificate. I got to post it on Facebook, really stick it to Robert Lewis. I hung up feeling 50 years older. Next to me, Emma ended her call, and her expression went even colder. My dad just disowned me, she said flatly. I panicked. What are you going to do? She shrugged. Let him. Less noise in my life. She said it like it was nothing, casual and sharp, and a little heartbreaking. We drove the rest of the way in silence. I started to think maybe marrying this woman wasn't the worst decision I'd ever made. Hashtag Chapter 5. Emma's condo was in the most expensive building downtown. Full-floor unit, floor-to-ceiling windows, probably over 3,000 square feet. The kind of minimalist interior design that looked simple but screamed money. I stood in the middle of the living room, feeling like a farm kid who just stepped into a magazine. You take the master, she said, tossing me a brand-new toothbrush and a set of towels. Go shower. You smell like dirt and regret. I nodded and shuffled into the master bath. After I scrubbed the mud, blood, and bad decisions off, and wrapped myself in a bathrobe one size too big, I stepped out feeling exposed and awkward. Emma had changed into a silk pajama set and was sitting on the couch, towel drying her hair. Without her heels or her business armor, her edges were softer, warmer in the lamplight. I stared for a second too long. What? She asked without looking up. Nothing, I said quickly. Honey, I think we should set some ground rules. If I wanted to live to see 21, this was necessary. Oh, she arched a brow. Let's hear it. I clear my throat. Rule 1, no hitting my face. Fine. Rule 2, no grappling. Nosotros, no over-the-shoulder anything. We'll see. I swallowed. Rule 3, and this is the most important one. At home, we're equals. Same status. Emma set the towel down and stood. Even in slippers at 5'9", she had half a head on me, plus about 10 levels of intimidation. Equal status? She walked up to me and leaned down, eyes locked on mine. What exactly does that mean? Like decisions. We could vote. On who does what? Like who washes dishes, who vacuums. She laughed. When she laughed, the whole room brightened. Then she reached up and gently caught my chin between her fingers, tilting my face toward hers. Her touch was soft. Her attitude was not. Alex, remember this. In this house, I am the rule book. What I say goes. And you? She leaned closer, her breath warm against my skin. You just have to follow orders. She let go, turned, and walked to the guest room. The door shut with a soft but final thump. My heart slammed against my ribs. Well, I hadn't gotten a wife. I'd gotten a queen. Hashtag chapter 6. Married life turned out exactly how you'd expect when you marry your childhood bully. Basically, a queen and her unpaid intern. I got up at 6:30 to make breakfast. Emma got up at 7:30, ate, pushed her plate away, and left for work. I washed dishes, cleaned, did laundry, ordered takeout for lunch, cleaned some more, made dinner, and waited for her to come home. On good days, she'd take a bite, nod, and say not bad. On bad days, she'd eat in silence, then disappear in her room and leave me alone with the sink full of pots. I wasn't a husband. I was a live-in housekeeper with a marriage certificate. One afternoon while I was mopping, my phone rang. Emma, there's a corporate cocktail thing tonight. You're coming. Me? You got to go. You're my husband. Who else would I bring? Her tone left no room for debate. I'll pick you up at 6, or something that doesn't look like you sleep in it. She hung up. I opened the closet and stared at my wardrobe, t-shirts and jeans. My best outfit was my dad's old suit that made me look like a kid wearing his dad's clothes. With no other options, I pulled it out, ironed it as best I could, and drowned my hair in gel. At 6 sharp, Emma walked in. She took one look at me and froze. You planning to perform at a community theater tonight? I said nothing. She sighed and disappeared into her walk-in closet, then came back with a garment bag. Here, put this on. It was a custom suit, my size exactly. I didn't have the guts to ask when or why she'd bought it. Once I'd changed, even I had to admit I looked decent. Like I belonged in a bank ad. Not terrible, she said, giving me a once-over. She herself wore a black evening gown, hair swept up to show off the perfect line of her neck. Cold, elegant, untouchable. Standing side by side in the mirror, we almost looked like we were supposed to be together. At the hotel ballroom, it was wall-to-wall designer clothes and fake smiles. The moment Emma walked in, heads turned. Emma, you look incredible. Emma Lewis, it's been too long. And this is? Emma slid her hand through the crook of my arm. My husband, Alex Parker. A dozen pairs of eyes raked over me, full of curiosity, jealousy, and judgment. I could hear the whispers. That's him? The Parker kid who married Emma? Heard their families hate each other. Wonder what trick he pulled to land her. Look at him. But she's got him on a tight leash. I kept my polite smile in place while mentally flipping each of them off. Then a familiar, unpleasant voice sliced through the hum of conversation. Well, if it isn't Emma Lewis. Slumming it with this loser now. I turned. Logan Carter. Oil slick hair, perfectly tailored suit, crocodile smile. With a pack of rich kid friends at his back. Emma's expression dropped 10 degrees. Logan, watch your mouth. Am I wrong? He sneered, jerking his chin at me. What's a little nobody like him doing here? Parker, don't your parents run some crappy little diner on Maple? Ever had wine that costs more than your car? Ever eaten anything that wasn't served on a greasy plate? I opened my mouth, but Emma stepped in front of me. He's my husband, she said calmly. My man. I spoil him. Got a problem with that. Her voice wasn't loud, but it carried, heavy as a gavel. Logan flinched. He clearly hadn't expected her to stand in front of me like that. Emma, why are you doing this? He snapped. You forget your families have hated each other for decades. So, she said, I'm fine with that. Logan's face flushed dark. He looked like he might explode. I stared at Emma's back, slim but solid, blocking me from the world, and felt something warm uncurl in my chest. She might treat me like an intern at home, but out here, she had my back. Hashtag chapter 7. Logan's anger boiled over. Emma, don't be stupid. You really think the Carter family's just going to sit back and watch you humiliate us? I can crush your little company and that pathetic diner of his in a week. He dropped the threat like a bomb. People around us fell silent, pretending not to eavesdrop while absolutely eavesdropping. Emma's eyes went ice cold. Try it. The tension in the air was thick enough to chew. I stepped up and gently touched Emma's shoulder. She glanced back, mildly surprised, and stepped aside half a foot. I faced Logan with my most harmless smile. Mr. Carter, right? He looked me up and down. And you are nothing. Sure, I said. I am nobody. But I thought I just heard you say you could shut my family's place down. That's right. He smirked. One phone call, and your little hole in the wall is done. Interesting. I nodded and pulled my phone out. So do me a favor and look at this. I'd queued up a security cam video. On screen, a middle-aged man in a black jacket crept into the back kitchen of our diner and poured white powder into a giant pot of soup. The timestamp in the corner? 2 nights ago. The kitchen? My parents' diner. And the guy? Logan's driver. Logan's expression went dead white. What is this?" he stammered. "Nothing much." I tucked the phone away. "Just our back-of-house security footage. Sneaky little thing, hidden in the smoke detector. I also have the rest of that bag of powder your guy didn't get a chance to sprinkle around." I leaned in slightly, still smiling. "Food tampering is a serious felony, Logan. People go to prison over less. Want to see how fast the cops get interested if I turn this in?" Sweat popped out on his forehead. His friend stared at him, no longer amused. "You wouldn't dare," he hissed. "Von not bit." The smile dropped from my face. "Let me make this easy for you. Option 1, you apologize to my wife. Right now, out loud. Option 2, we finish this conversation down at the station." The crowd around us held their breath. No one had expected the quiet Parker kid to be anything but a doormat. Even Emma was staring at me like I'd just sprouted a second head. Logan glared, hatred simmering in his eyes, but in the end, survival instinct won. Teeth clenched, he forced the words out. "I'm sorry." "Didn't catch that," I said, cupping a hand around my ear. "You mumble when you're scared?" He practically shouted. "I said I'm sorry." "Better," I said and took him his hand. "Come on, honey. Air in here's disgusting." I walked off with her on my arm under a room full of stunned, grudgingly impressed stares. Hashtag Chapter 8. The car ride home was quiet. Emma drove with her usual laser focus. I stared out the window, nerves buzzing. Had I overstepped? Stolen her thunder? Queens didn't usually like people grabbing their crown mid-scene. "Hey," I finally said. "Did I go too far back there?" She didn't answer right away. "You did fine," she said at last. I blinked. She complimented me. "First time for everything." "When did you get that video?" she asked. "The night before last," I said. "Dad kept saying it felt like someone was messing with the kitchen. I set up a hidden cam in case we got a rat or something. Didn't think we'd catch an actual crime. Honestly, it had been pure luck." She nodded slightly and fell quiet again. Back at the condo, I kicked off my shoes and headed toward the kitchen to get some water. "Wait," Emma said behind me. I turned. She was looking at me with an expression I hadn't seen on her much. Uncertain, almost soft. "Alex," she said quietly. "Thank you. For tonight." My heart did that stupid little flip again. "No problem. We're married. And you kept Logan off my back, so fair trade." She went to the cabinet, pulled out the first aid kit, and set it on the coffee table. "And," she said. I held out my hand, confused. She took it gently. There was a small cut across the back of it, where glass had nicked me during the earlier chaos. She dipped a cotton swab in antiseptic and dabbed at the wound with surprising care. Close up like this. Her lashes cast shadows on her cheeks. Her concentration was weirdly adorable. "Done," she murmured, smoothing a bandage over the cut. "Thanks," I said. "Don't rush into things like that again," she said softly. "The Carters aren't a joke." "I know," I said. "I'll be careful." That night, for the first time ever, we sat on the couch together and watched a stupid rom-com. We barely spoke, but the silence wasn't tense. I could almost pretend we were just normal. It felt nice. Maybe a little too nice. Hashtag Chapter 9. Logan didn't just slink away and lick his wounds. He couldn't touch us in the open anymore, so he went underground. First, it was my parents' diner. Suddenly, we had customers claiming they'd found hair in their food, complaining about stomach aches, threatening to call the news. We pulled footage, checked everything, proved every claim was bogus, but people talk. Business took a hit anyway. Then Emma's company started losing clients. Contracts terminated due to changing strategic priorities. Long-term partners jumped ship, all mysteriously landing at Carter Enterprises. Both our families were feeling the squeeze. Dad ranted, stressed, and red-faced. Emma's father called her repeatedly, making everything worse by implying this was all her fault. Emma went even quieter than usual, working later and later. Some nights she didn't get home till almost midnight, shoulders tight, eyes exhausted. I watched her drag herself in and felt useless. One night, she pushed around a bowl of noodles I'd made, barely eating. We'll figure out, I said. It'll blow over. She looked at me, and for the first time, I saw a real vulnerability there. Figure it out how? She whispered. Logan's got more money, more connections. This is my fault. I pulled you into this mess. My chest tightened. I'd never seen her look small before. What are you talking about? I said, moving to sit next to her. Your mess, my mess. Say mess. I wrapped my fingers around her hand. Her skin was ice cold. Emma, do you trust me? She held my gaze for a few long seconds. Then she nodded. Yes. Okay, I said. Send me everything you have on your company and Carter Enterprises. Financials, client lists, project briefs. All of it. She blinked. Why? Because you're not the only one in this marriage who can use their brain, I said. Give me 3 days. She hesitated, then forwarded everything she could. For the next 72 hours, I practically moved into the small office off the living room. I didn't sleep much. I went through every line of every report, every public record I could dig up on Carter Enterprises, cross-referencing, searching for patterns. On the third night, at around 3 in the morning, I found it. A single project in a sea of paperwork, but one that glowed like a neon sign. A huge overseas contract with a German company known for being obsessive about compliance and ethics. Project lead, Logan Carter. I smiled. Checkmate. Hashtag chapter 10. The plan I put together had 2 main steps. 1. Give Logan just enough rope. 2. Let him hang himself. I scraped together every penny I could get my hands on. My savings, my parents' nest egg, what little we could pull from Emma's accounts without raising alarms. Called in a few favors. Then used that money to bet against a small, relatively unimportant Carter Enterprises stock. Nothing flashy. Nothing that would spook the big players. Just enough to be noticeable to one arrogant heir. As expected, Logan took the bait. He spotted the short, and, seeing my name attached through a small brokerage account, snorted and decided to teach me a lesson. He quietly funneled money into pumping the stock back up, certain he could squeeze me out and make a profit. While he was distracted, I moved to phase 2. Using the data Emma had sent and hours of late-night research, I pieced together a trail of petty corruption, kickbacks, fake invoices, inflated budgets. Nothing that would instantly slam him in handcuffs, but enough to make that German company very nervous if they saw it. We sent them a neat, anonymous package. Not something they could prosecute with, but something they couldn't ethically ignore. And those people lived and died by their ethics. They launched their own internal investigation. Logan remained blissfully unaware, pouring more and more money into his little stock game. And because uber-confident idiots can't help themselves, he dipped into funds earmarked for that German project. When the investigation wrapped up and the misappropriation broke, everything imploded. The Germans pulled the plug immediately. Carter Enterprises stock cratered. During the panic, I quietly covered my position and walked away with a tidy profit. Small fry my ass. To calm shareholders and regulators, Carter Enterprises needed a scapegoat. They didn't even bother sugarcoating it. Logan's own father handed his son over to the authorities. The news exploded across finance blogs and local TV. In 1 week, Logan went from young lion of the Carter family to cautionary tale. And just like that, the pressure on us disappeared. Hashtag chapter 11, the Carter implosion hit our town like a bomb. My dad and Robert Lewis, 2 men who'd spent half their lives glaring at each other over fence lines and city council meetings, ended up sitting down together for the first time in forever and getting absolutely wasted. Neighbors later told me they saw them on the porch at midnight, arms slung over each other's shoulders, crying about the good old days and vowing to never let some punk rich kid push them around again. The next morning, Dad announced that he and Robert were combining forces, merging our diner and their restaurant into one big, shiny, downtown spot. They already had a name, Parker and Lewis. 3 generations of grudges, gone in a blur of cheap whiskey and mutual hatred of Logan Carter. Just like that, I went from embarrassing son to hero of both families. Emma came home early that night for once, carrying a bottle of good red wine and a paper bag. Celebration dinner, she said. My heart melted a little. Then I peeked in a bag and saw raw chicken with no idea what she planned to do with it, and pure survival instinct took over. 15 minutes later, the kitchen was full of smoke alarms, and I'd elbowed her away from the stove and taken over. Dinner came out pretty good, though. We sat across from each other, clinked glasses, and watched the city lights through the windows. Her cheeks were flushed from the wine, eyes softer than usual. "Alex," she said, looking at me like she really saw me. "Was I too harsh on you before?" Inside, I thought, yes. Obviously. Out loud, I said no. That was just high standards. Kept me motivated. She snorted, amused. "You've changed," she said. "You're not the same kid I used to throw around the yard." "People grow," I said, topping off her glass. "Back then, I couldn't beat you physically. Now I'm smart enough to realize I don't have to. I can just let you do the beating." Her eyes went soft and bright all at once. "From now on, I'll protect you," she said. Warmth spread through my chest. "Babe, I'm going to remember you said that." We drank more. At some point, the conversation drifted back to the night everything started. "Emma," I said, emboldened by the wine, "can I ask you something?" "Ask." "The night I climbed your fence, why did you say yes so fast?" "I've been wondering since that very first okay." She set her glass down, staring at the deep red liquid for a long time. Just when I thought she wasn't going to answer, she spoke, voice barely above a whisper. "Because I was waiting for you." Hashtag chapter 12, my brain blue screened. "You were what?" "Waiting for you," she repeated, a little louder. Color crept up her neck and her cheeks. I couldn't tell if it was the wine or the confession. "I've been done with my parents' expectations for a long time," she said. "To them, I'm just a bargaining chip. I'm supposed to marry some rich guy, smile for photos, and shut up." She looked up, eyes clear and strangely fragile. "When Logan came over that night and they started pushing, I was exhausted. I didn't know how much more of that I could take." She took a breath. "And then you crashed through the window like an idiot covered in roses." "Rude," I muttered automatically. She almost smiled. "You look like hell," she admitted. "But when I saw you marching in like that, soaked and scraped up, holding out your ID, I felt calm. I thought, if I have to get married to somebody, at least this idiot is familiar." I laughed, but my chest ached. All this time, I thought she was just continuing our lifelong war. Turns out, we'd been circling the same point from opposite directions. "So," I said carefully, "you're telling me you had a little crush on me all along?" Her face turned incandescent red. "Absolutely not," she snapped. "I just figured you'd be easy to boss around." "Oh, sure," I said. "That's definitely what this is." I slid my chair closer, heart pounding, and wrapped an arm around her shoulders. She tensed, but didn't pull away. "Alex, where's your hand?" she asked, voice shaky. "On my wife," I said. "Perfectly legal." I leaned toward her ear. "Hey, I noticed something." "What?" "Your face is really red." "That's just the wine." "Is it?" "Let me check." Before I could lose my nerve, I tilted her chin toward me and kissed her. Her lips were soft and tasted like wine. She went stiff for a second. Then, slowly, awkwardly, she kissed me back. Moonlight spilled over the living room, silvering the edges of our tangled shadows. In that moment, it felt like my life finally turned the page. Who cared who could beat who anymore? Who cared whose status was higher? In the end, my queen was mine. Even if, realistically, I'd still be following her orders about 90% of the time. But honestly, I was fine with that. I liked it that way.